Chapter 9 The Evil Spell. On Easter Monday, the rain began again in earnest. It was as though the elements were conspiring to ruin their short week of freedom. Jess and Leslie sat cross-legged on the porch at the works, watching the wheels of a passing truck shoot huge sprays of muddy water to its rear. "That ain't no 55 miles per hour," Jess muttered it. Just then, something came out of the window of the cab. Leslie jumped to her feet. "Litterbug," she screamed after the already disappearing tail lights. Jess stood up too. "What do you want to do?" "What I want to do is go to Terabithia," she said, looking out mournfully at the pouring rain. "Heck, let's go," he said. "Okay," she said, suddenly brightening. "Why not?" She got her boots and raincoat and considered the umbrella. "Do you think we could swing across holding the umbrella?" He shook his head. "No, we better stop by your house and get your boots and things." He shrugged it. "I don't have nothing that fits. I'll just go like this. I'll get you an old coat of Bill's." She started up the stairs. Judy appeared in the hallway. "What are you kids doing?" It was the same words that Jess's mother might have used, but it didn't come out the same way. Judy's eyes were kind of buzzed over as she spoke, and her voice sounded as though it were being broadcast from miles away. "We didn't mean to bother you, Judy." "That's all right. I'm stuck right now. I might as well stop. Have you had any lunch?" "Shall right, Judy. We can get something ourselves." Judy's eyes confused slenderly. "We've got your boots on." Leslie looked down at her feet. "Oh, yeah," she said, as though she were just noticing them herself. "We thought we'd go out for a while. Is it raining again?" "Yeah, I used to like to walk in the rain." Judy smiled at the kind of smile May Bailey did in her sleep. "Well, if you two can manage." "Sure. Is Bill back yet?" "No, he said he wouldn't be back until late. Not to worry." "Fine," she said. "Oh," she said certainly, and her eyes popped wide open. "Oh," she almost ran back to her room, and the blankety plank of the typewriter began at once. Leslie was grinning. She came up stuck. He wondered what it would be like to have a mother whose stories were inside her head instead of marching across the television screen all day long. He followed Leslie up the hall to where she was pulling things out of a closet. She handed him a beige raincoat and a peculiar round black woolly hat. "No boots." Her voice was coming out of the depths of the closet and was muffled by a line of overcoats. "How about a pair of clumps?" "A pair of what?" She stuck her head out between the coats. Cleats. She produced them. They looked like size 12s. "Now I'd lose some in the mud. I'll just go barefoot." "Hey," she said, emerging completely. "Me too." The ground was cold. The icy mud sent little thrills of pain up their legs, so they ran, splashing through the puddles and slushing in the mud. Petey bounded ahead, leaping fish-like from one brown sea to the next, then throwing back to her, the two of them forward, nipping at their heels and further splashing their already sopping gems. When they got to the bank of the creek, they stopped it. It was an awesome sight, like in the 10 commandments on TV when the water came rushing into the dry pad Moses had made and swept all the Egyptians away. The long dry bed of the creek was a roaring 8-foot wide sea, sweeping before it great branches of trees, logs, and trash, swirling them about like so many Egyptian chariots, the hungry water slinking and sometimes slipping the banks, daring them to try to confine it. Wow, Leslie's voice was respectful. Yeah, Jess looked it up at the rope. It was still twisted round the branch of the crab apple tree. His stomach felt cold. Maybe we ought to forget it today. Come on, Jess, we can't make it. The hood of Leslie's raincoat had fallen back, and her hair lay plastered to her forehead. She wiped her cheeks and eyes with her hat, and then untwisted the rope. She unsnapped the top of her coat with her left hand. Here, she said, stand pity in here for me. I will carry him, Leslie. With that raincoat, Hale slipped right out the button. She was impatient to be gone, so Jess scooped up the sodden dog and shoved him rear first into the cape of Leslie's raincoat. You gotta hold his rear with your left arm and swing with your right. You know. I know. She moved it backward to get a running start. Hold tight, good gosh, said Jess. She shut his mouth. He wanted to shut his eyes too, but he forced himself to watch her run back, race for the bank, leap, swing, and jump off, landing gracefully on her feet on the far side. Catch! He stuck his hand out, but he was watching Leslie and Petey and not concentrating on the rope, which slipped at the end of his fingertips and swung in a large arc out of his reach. He jumped it and grabbed it, and shuddering his mind to the sound and sight of water, he ran back and then sped forward. The cold stream lapped at his bare heels momentarily, but then he was into the air above it and falling awkwardly and landing on his bottom. Petey was on him immediately, muddy paws all over the beige raincoat, and pink tongue scent peppering Jess's wet face. Leslie's eyes were sparkling. Arise, she barely swallowed a giggle. Arise, King of Terabithia, and let us proceed into our kingdom. The King of Terabithia now folded and wiped his face on the back of his hand. I will arise, he replied with dignity. When thou removes this fool dog of my God. They went to Terabithia on Tuesday and again on Wednesday. The rain continued sporadically, so that by Wednesday the creek had swollen to the trunk of the crab apple, and they were running through ankle-deep water to make their flight into Terabithia. And on the upside bank, Jess was more careful to land on his feet, sitting in cold, wet bridges for an hour was no fun even in a magic kingdom. For just the fear of the crushing rose with the height of the crack, Leslie never seemed to hesitate yet, so Jess could not hang back. But even though he could force his body to follow after, his mind hung back, wanting to cling to the crab's apple tree the way Joey's son might cling to Mama's skirt. While they were sitting in the castle on Wednesday, it began suddenly to rain so heard that water came through the top of the shack in icy streams. Jess tried to huddle away from the worst of them, but there was no escaping the miserable invaders. Does know what is in my mind, okay, Leslie? Dumped the contents of one coffee can on the ground and put the can under the worst leg. What? Methinks some evil being has put a curse on our beloved kingdom. Then either burial. In the dim light he could see Leslie's face freeze into its most quaintly posed kind of expression she usually reserved it for vanquished enemies she didn't want to kid. He instantly repainted his unkingly manner. Leslie chose to ignore it. Let us go even up into the skirted grove and inquire of the spirits what this evil light might be and how we must combat it. For of a truth I perceive that this no ordinary rain that is falling upon our kingdom. Right, Queen? Jess mumbled it and crawled it out of the low entrance of Castle Stronghold. Under the pines even the rain lost its driving power. Without the flattered light of the sun it was almost dark, and the sound of the rain hitting the pine branches high above their heads filled the grove with the weird tuneless music. Dread lay on Jess's stomach like a hunk of cold, undigested donut. Leslie lifted her arms and face up toward the dark green canopy. "Oh, spirits of the grove," she began slowly, "we are come on behalf of our beloved kingdom, which lies even now under the spell of some evil unknown words. Give us, we beseech thee, wisdom to discern this evil and power to overcome it." She nudged Jess with her elbow. He raised his arms up. He felt the point of her sharp elbow again. Yes, please listen. Those spirits. She seemed satisfied. At last she didn't poke him again. She just stood there quietly as if she was listening respectfully to someone talking to her. Jess was shivering whether from the cold or the place, he didn't know, but he was glad when she turned to leave the grove. All he could think of was dry clothes and a cup of hot coffee and maybe just plunking down in front of the TV for a couple of hours. He was avowedly not worthy to be king of Terabithia. Whoever heard of a king who was skirted of tall trees and a little bit of water? He swung across the creek almost too disgusted with himself to be afraid. Halfway across he looked down and stuck his tongue out at the rower below. Who's afraid of big bad wolf? Tra-la-la-la, he said to himself, then quickly looked up again toward the crab apple tree, plodding up the hill through the mud and beaten down grasses. He slammed his bare feet down her left. He addressed them inside his head. Let my wife and 49 children without any gingerbread think I did right by my. Why don't we change our clothes and watch TV or something over at your house? He felt like hugging her. I will make us some coffee, he said joyfully. Yup, she said, smiling, and began to run for the old Perkins place. than beautiful, graceful one of hers there neither mud nor water could defeat. He had seemed to just when he went to bed Wednesday night that he could relax, that everything was going to be all right. But he awake in the middle of the night with the horrible realization that it was still raining. He would just have to tell Leslie that he wouldn't go to Terabithia. After all, she had told him that when she was working on the house with Bill, and he hadn't questioned her, it wasn't so much that he minded telling Leslie that he was afraid to go. It was that he minded being afraid. It was as though he'd been made with the great piece missing one of May Bailey's puzzles, with this huge gap where somebody's eyes and cheek and jaw should have been. Lord, it would be better to be born without an arm than to go through life with no cuts. He hardly slept the rest of the night, listening to the hurried rain, and knowing that no matter how high the creek came, Leslie would still want to cross it.